What is up YouTube? Crafting Cars here, happy Tuesday. Now for today's video, we're back to working on our 1997 Honda Civic project car, and today marks part 2 of the front end restoration. So we're going to be doing a little bit of welding, seam sealing, painting, and undercoating, trying to get this chassis looking nice, fresh, and functional. So let's get right into it. Alright, so to get you guys all caught up, so far on this chassis we have removed the front fenders, the side skirts, a whole lot of components off the front end of the car like the intercooler, oil cooler, charge piping, coilovers, upper control arms, and the old front traction bar. Of course, we got the front wheels and front bumper off the car, got it all jacked up, and we're ready to start working. So basically what we got done already as far as restoration is we cut out some pretty big chunks of rust that we found on the part 1 video. So you'll notice got some pretty big holes missing here, and this whole seam and this whole piece is gone, and it's kind of like this on both sides of the car. I got them over here, so you can see it was really bad. But luckily I was able to use these old pieces as stencils to cut out some new steel pieces to weld in there, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. A couple other things I've done is there was some flash rust kind of starting around these holes on the car, so we treated those with some of this rust treatment. This stuff works awesome. We've used it in the rear of the car and had amazing results, so here we are using it in the front of the car. I went ahead and cleaned up the rails here, so these got treated as well, and you'll notice I used a little bit of this gray primer both on the front and where we cut out the steel on the car. Now this is zinc weld stuff right here. Now, Gideon recommended this to me. This is a weld through, it's a weld through primer that apparently you can prep your metal surfaces with that you plan on welding, and it provides protection all the way around the weld. So my first time using it, I guess we'll see how it goes. So as you can tell, these skinny pieces here are gonna replace the old rusted seams, and I already got these trimmed up, so those should fit pretty good and weld in nice and clean. Now, I'm hoping that when I'm done with this, everything's gonna look just like factory and hopefully be just as strong. Now, once we get these pieces tacked in, we'll be ready to trim these up, get them primed, and weld these in as well. These will be covering up the larger portion of the hole. Now, these pieces are new. You might be wondering what these are for. Now, I basically made these to clean up the front end a little bit. So where we got the kind of the front end of the frame exposed here, we'll be welding these plates there, and that cleans that up quite a bit. So that one's going on that side, and this one with the hole in it will be going on this side. As you can see, I had to drill that hole in it, so I still have a spot to mount up my oil cooler. So before we start welding on this car, a couple things I wanted to say. First things first, make sure before you weld you have your battery and ECU disconnected, just to make sure that those fragile electronic components don't get hurt by the high voltage and high amperage that comes out of these welders. Second thing, I'd like to thank all you guys. Because of your views and the support on the channel, we were able to raise enough ad revenue to purchase our very own 110 volt welder, and we've been using it quite a bit, and it's really come in handy. We got Gideon's engine bay done, and now we're doing some work on the Civic. We've done some exhaust work with it, and yeah, we've really enjoyed it. So yeah, big thanks to you guys, and a huge shout out to Hobart Welders, the actual welding company, for sponsoring our channel and hooking both me and Gideon up with all the safety supplies we could ever need. All right, let's get started. So now that we got our tack welds laid across the top and our stitch welds on the seam on the bottom for extra strength, I hit it with a wire brush, we got everything taped off, and now we're ready for some seam sealer. I wish I could weld as good as I lay down the clock. All right. So there we are. My first structural rust repair has been completed, and I made sure to seal up the backside as well. So now we'll go ahead and do the same thing to the other side of the car, and then we'll be ready to move on to installing our custom frame rail caps. All right, so now we got the other side done. It was a little bit bigger of a piece with a little more curve to it, so you'd think it'd be a little bit more challenging, but since we had the practice on the other side of the car, it went pretty smooth. So we got her all sealed up and ready to go, and now we can move on to the front of the car. What the hell? Now, I don't know how I feel about this weld-through primer. Now, I think it's supposed to be conductive, so you'd think when I, ground into these plates that are covered in this primer, and I try to start, a quick tack, it'd penetrate right through it. But it seems to kind of like stop the penetration just like, normal paint would. So maybe this should only be used for the backside of the part that you're welding. Yeah, I noticed it was kind of difficult to lay tacks and even lay stitches on the inner fenders. So I don't know. I guess maybe just from now on I'll use it only on the back side of my parts. So just a little learning experience, I guess. You'll see it's kind of hard to start the tacks. Yeah, see? Not conductive. Alright, so I ground a little bit of the paint off. That should help. It is super humid in here. I think my eyeballs are sweating. There we go. Good morning, neighbors. Happy Tuesday. Alright, so now we'll clean up those plates a little bit. We'll hit them with the grinder and then with some Rust-Oleum spray paint. Now this is smoke gray, which is the same paint color that you see on the hood and in the engine bay. So if you want your car to match your boy Afton's, this is the paint to get, Rust-Oleum smoke gray. So yeah, this will help quite a bit. Reminds me of my favorite saying, which is a grinder and paint makes you the welder you ain't. Now that is more like it. Turned out nice and clean. While that dries, I think now is a pretty good time for me to finally go inside and take a nap. All right, so it is now the next day. I had a nice nap. I went into work. It was a pretty busy day, but now we are back, and it is supposed to get up to 100 degrees today, so I wasted no time. The second I got home, I threw my phone on the charger and began masking off the car. And not only do we have the car masked off, but we got this thing super clean. So I went ahead and did some scrubbing under here, making sure everything is fresh and clean so we have a good surface for the undercoating to stick to. It's gonna look really nice when everything is finally all one color again. Yeah, it's just gonna be a pretty loose undercoating here. I'm not looking for like super clean lines since everything's gonna be covered up with the fender anyway. So as long as the majority of everything under here is nice and black, we're gonna have a nice, good result that should hopefully be rust-free for the rest of this car's life. Or, at least for the rest of my life. Alright guys, so I removed most of the masking, and I think you're really gonna like how this turned out. Check it out, nice and clean. So yeah, it turned out really nice. pretty dang happy with the results. It's still very wet and tacky, so this stuff takes about 2 hours to dry to the touch. It's probably gonna be a little bit longer today since it's a little bit humid out. And then after 24 hours, it is fully cured. And at that point, I think that's when I'm gonna toss the rest of the suspension in. And I think the rest of the suspension is gonna look super tight in there with the green coilovers and the red True Heart traction bar. Man, my desk is a mess right now. It's gonna look really cool. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I, for one, am super stoked on this result. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for today's video. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Don't be afraid to leave a comment down below. Maybe follow me on Instagram at afton.voigt.ej8. Love checking out your guys' builds as well. So coming up pretty soon here, actually tomorrow, I'm getting on a plane to Alaska, so I'll be spending a week up there celebrating my cousin's wedding, so that's gonna be really cool. So maybe not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, we'll be back working on the Civic, and I'll be bolting up all the suspension, and we'll finally be getting my alignment dialed into the spec that I've been looking for the longest time now. So that's really exciting. Next Tuesday, I guess, I'm really not sure what I'm gonna post. I'll decide, see if I wanna do a little bit of filming up in Alaska, a little kind of like lifestyle vlog kind of action. Otherwise, I've got a little bit of a couple things to do on the Stealth, just like little maintenance things like filters, wiper blades. I might be sending out the broken HVAC unit on that thing, try to get that repaired by the time I get back. So yeah, not too sure. I'll talk to Gideon. Maybe he's got some action for you guys to post this coming Tuesday. But yeah, as always, like I said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.